Hello, and welcome back to Danganronpa Lapse. So, in the last part, we did the trial, and Ashley was the one who killed Cyrus. It was really intense. Like, listen, from the beginning, I was like, oh, it would be so cool if Ashley was one of the killers, and she ended up being one of the killers. But it was like, she became the killer because she wanted to protect Echo, because Cyrus was gonna kill Echo. And now Echo is like upset, angry, grieving, and like I understand why they are feeling that way. But also, they were kind of mean to Cannon before. Like, Cannon tried to help them, give them a picture of Ashley and everyone else that she had taken, but they didn't want it, and they were like, I don't want this. This is stupid. And I don't know. Like, it's a hard thing. I'm pretty fresh off playing the second chapter because I'm pre-recording a lot of stuff. But I do want to say that the execution in the second chapter, I think, was done a bit better than it was in the first chapter. They had more images that helped. Like, it was mostly still just text, but they also did have the image to help with, like, the visual and how it kind of looked. So I was glad to see that. Like, they had the image of Ashley being dragged away by the chains. They had her attached to the pole where they played a horrible game of horseshoes with her. But yeah. Now we're gonna start chapter 3. Chapter 3, I think this is the last chapter, actually. Like, I thought originally that it was 6 chapters long, but I think it's only 3. Which makes sense, because there are only, like, 2 days left before the 7-day, time limit that they were all given. Yeah. The last trial was crazy. Like, in the middle of it, we switched from controlling Echo to controlling Lyle. It was crazy, and we had to refute things that Echo was saying because they were so sure. Like, they wanted to defend Ashley to the end, and like, I understand it. They're best friends. And that's why it was chapter 2 was so much more intense, so much more raw than chapter 1. I think it was so much better. I think that after chapter 2, the creator really found like their comfort and it was really good. I enjoyed chapter 2 immensely. I'm hoping that this final chapter, chapter 3, will also be amazing, but I have high hopes because I think it's a good game and I'm enjoying the game. Even though, like, I was like, oh, it's lackluster, the executions and stuff. And like, the first one was, let's be honest. But I enjoyed the second one more. Yeah. We're gonna get back into it. I'm so... This is the aftermath of the trial where Ashley was executed. And Echo is... They're a mess. Like, say the least. They're just not okay. Alright. I slowly drew open my eyes. My chest felt tight. I inhaled deeply and exhaled heavily, as if to expel my body of all the wound-up fear that stirred inside. It didn't help much. My body felt leaden, my heart hollow. Rising from the bed, I shook the remnants of a trying sleep away. Looking at my surroundings, I noticed I had thrown the covers and pillows on the floor. It was strange. I had fallen asleep, but I saw no dreams or nightmares. My subconscious felt suspended in a null zone. The clock read 4:15. I rubbed the exhaustion from my eyes. Feeling numb and listless, I dragged my heavy body out of bed and shuffled toward the door, but I didn't know where to go. That's not true. I mumbled to myself. There was one place I could think of. I stepped out of my personal room and saw Lyle down the opposite hall. He just scowled and stomped off. I went on my way. This is bad because I feel like Echo is now distancing themselves from everybody else, and that's never a good thing to do. I walked through the living quarters hall, through the foyer, and up the stairs to the second floor. I saw Sei standing in front of the spa lounge door, weeping gently. Sei? Are you okay? Oh! Caught off guard, Sei wiped her eyes. As I approached Sei from the staircase, something gleamed in her hands. It looked like a closed pocket watch. She stared a burning hole in the door, rolling the small object between her fingers. After a moment, she managed to croak and sniff a response. This is how it's supposed to happen, isn't it? What do you mean? We can't do anything. No matter how hard we try, it'll still end like this. I had nowhere to go before I came here, but now what do I do? She was visibly shaking. It was horrible seeing her like this. Sei, I'm gonna console her. I couldn't say for certain I knew exactly what she was going through, but I just knew one thing. I understand how you feel. Scared and alone. But if it's any consolation, at least we have each other. I let the words slip out, but in truth, I wasn't confident of that sentiment on my own heart yet. She rolled the delicate disc in her hand a few times again. I wondered what the item meant to her, if anything. Sei didn't respond. Instead, she just wiped her tears and nodded. I spent some time with Sei in solitude. Passing through the atrium, I spotted Forte gazing at the delicate globe centerpiece. He seemed to be humming to himself, but stopped when I approached. Evening, Echo. Hello. Did I interrupt you? No. It's a melancholic tune. I'd really rather not bother you further with it. Oh. It's a bitter, unfortunate situation we found ourselves in, isn't it? Despite the heavy words, his face read differently. His shoulders remained relaxed, and he looked up past the globe at the dark, cool sky. He seemed calm somehow. Tell me, Echo, how are you? Are you all right? Huh? Am I all right? No? No. No. I'm hurt. The killing game and the trials that follow. No, this whole game. It's horrible, and I hate it. We're losing people. Friends we've just met. And the friends we've known. It feels like there's no end in sight. It's perfectly normal to feel devastation as we find ourselves cautiously navigating life or death situations. The game has instigated those with a spirit inflicted with distress and grief to ends unmentionable and trials heartbreaking. Yes, my soul is stirring, but in my experience on the stage, these sorts of feelings never last for long. You know, can I just take a second? Is it just me, or does Forte look a lot like Zero? Like Forte, he has a lot of the same physical features as Zero. He has the white hair with the black spots in there, the red eyes. I can't help but wonder, like, what if Forte is one of the masterminds? What if it's him? That's just the thought that I'm having. We move people to tears with our performances about tragedy, the loved and lost. Yet, the audience knows the performance will end and thus they'll move on with their lives. Can't help but wonder, when? How much longer will the curtains close on this story? Forgive me for bending your ear with my thoughts. I'll let you be on your way. No, that's okay. It's comforting to know that I'm not alone in feeling afraid. Indeed, we are never truly alone. I stood in a moment of silence as Forte sang his words with clarity. Is this supposed to be Forte's voice? That's a deep voice. I'm just saying. Okay, he's singing Ave Maria. I'm a bit scared it's gonna, you know, copyright me. I made my way through the atrium and up the stairs, arriving on the 3rd floor. I spotted Missy at the marble table in the center of the 3rd floor. She was contemplating something. Missy? Oh, Echo. Excuse me, I hadn't noticed you. Missy looked unsettled. She might have been put off from what I did earlier. I closed the distance between us. What's that? This is... She moved to reveal a small decorated box. Did she get another weapon? My revolver and a dagger. The 2 weapons shone dully in the dim light of the hallway. I discovered the dagger when Cyrus allowed me to explore the room of my associate. Needless to say, I don't wish to take it with me, but here it is again, as if it were following me. And the gun? Cleaned and posed for reuse. It looks like it was the only thing to emerge from this wreckage of the smoke lounge. I see. The dangerous tools needed to continue the game were returned to the players. I stared at the weapons in her hands. I wanted more than anything to tear them out of her hands and... Oh, what's happening? And what? Kill her? Echo! I didn't even know what I would do if I had them. I suppose it's inescapable. Missy snapped me out of my thoughts. Ooh, Echo's going down. He's going down a bad path because now they're like contemplating killing Missy. Where there is love, grief will be following close behind. Missy seemed to harbor a great concern for whoever this dagger belonged to. Can I ask, who was this person? Missy hesitated. Former love. I don't think I need to tell you how important, no, precious she was. So much so that I foolishly endangered everyone. Traces and signs of our friends. They've been placed to provoke us. This dagger is I can't speak. This dagger is analogous to seeing Silva's helmet. They are items of close regard, and to see them away from their respective owner is distressing. I can't help but wonder if maybe there was a killing game going on like before, and these people were in it first, and now this is like a second one. I withheld this information, because if everyone realized the truth of these items right away, we would all become distraught and lose our bearings in the midst of saving ourselves. But I just don't know anymore. I thought I knew what I was doing, but nothing makes sense. The more time we spend here, the less I know. morbid curiosity, a desire to delve further and further into a dark well for a pinch of hope. It has driven me to no satisfying end. And now I'm making you suffer my consequences. Missy, another heavy sigh escaped her lips. I've never felt so aimless. Oh. Echo, I don't expect forgiveness from you for what I did. Simply put, I introduced a weapon to the fray, which eventually caused Ashley's downfall. Forgiveness? Blame her or forgive her? If it were me, I would forgive. I feel like Echo would blame her, but I don't want to blame her. Genuinely. Like, I don't. I'm gonna forgive her. I understood why she did what she did. Leaving the weapon out was a show of belief that we would do no harm. I understood in theory, but... Missy, You don't need to indulge me. Missy looked at me with earnest eyes. It's easy to want to connect those two damning things together, to find a reason within the tragedy, but it's merely not healthy. The truth of the bigger picture is this. Ashley meant to protect the one she cared about, and she truly wanted to remove a threat from our group, having faith that we remaining students won't do harm to each other after the fact. Despite that, regardless the risks she took, we're still here, participating in this seemingly endless game. Our predicament doesn't appear so black and white, does it? Ugh. I'm sorry. I can't seem to form my thoughts. Missy's composure was fractured. She was shouldering the insurmountable weight of guilt. I didn't know what to say. I assume you've come up here for the same reason as I. So I had the choice to forgive her, but we didn't actually do it. It didn't let me anyway. I'm sorry for taking so much of your time. I'll leave you be. And thank you for trusting me during the trial. I regret having put you through all that. I nodded almost invisibly as Missy made her exit down the stairs. I realized Missy was right. The situation was too complicated to make strict judgment on what was just or unjust. At the end of the day, everyone was in pain. Why should I perpetuate it by being so callous to them? I sighed. Arriving where my subconscious had urged me, I stood still. I stood in the casino, feeling phantom traces of what happened just hours ago exasperate my bones. My mind wishfully wandered back to a time before this terrible game, a peaceful time before the despair. Are we gonna get to see them before this game? Oh, it was just the other night. Ashley and I were talking about nothing in particular, but we knew our time together would come to an end. The autumn season was coming to a close, just a few more months for our new phase of life to rise from the horizon. We were relishing the bright, warm sun of the present before it set into a peerless night. Sitting in comfortable, familiar silence, we enjoyed each other's company. Oh no! Oh, my heart! Oh, I'm so sad. Have you decided where you want to go? No, not yet. I was thinking about taking a gap year to travel. Traveling sounds like a dream. Seeing different people and expanding your worldview. Yeah, but then I'd have to worry about my finances if I'm on the road often. Oh, don't fret. There's always other options. Maybe you could travel locally. There could be interesting sights in this next city that you never knew about. That's a good idea. I never really thought about that since I just walk everywhere in the city. What about you? Any interesting prospects? Well, Papa wants me to help out on the ranch a little more. The new season's coming up and we're expecting some competitors to stop by. Oh yeah, the races. You get pretty busy during those weeks, right? It's hectic, but it's fun. And I don't mind helping. In fact, I was still unsure about what I was going to do after school anyway, so this gives me more time to think. And some more time with Hyperion. I'm sure he would miss you if you left. Of course. I would miss him too. We laughed lightly. I don't think you have to worry too much. If anything, you have a future at the ranch with your father. It's a good fallback, just in case anything were to happen, right? Yeah, a good fallback. A pondering silence drifted. I think you should travel, though. It would be wonderful to hear all about your journey. Nothing is really keeping you down, no? Not really, but the idea is a little daunting. Learning new languages to get around, not to mention finding the money to do so. It's a little risky. And we're probably not going to have many chances to see each other. There's always a million reasons not to do something. Yeah. Besides, if you ever get tired of traveling, I'll always be here. Oh my god, my heart, no. Babies. Just don't forget about me, okay? She flashed me that warm, comforting smile of hers. Stop, this is horrible. This is... Don't forget. I felt my heart swell. I returned to the first floor after some time. Passing through the foyer, I saw Missy and Forte having dinner in the dining hall. Oh, hello again, Echo. Are you well? Yeah. I think I'll be okay. Missy, I'm sorry if I was unresponsive earlier. I just needed some time to sort out my thoughts. I understand. Yeah. Even though we shared a mutual sentiment, our eyes never met during the exchange. Forte broke the silence. Echo, would you like to join us for dinner? It's been a trying day. You ought to take a break and take a moment to unwind. No, thank you. I had so many things on my mind, and no appetite to feed the thoughts. Will you be all right? Yeah, I just have a lot to think about. Well, don't push yourself too hard, and don't be a stranger if you do end up wanting to join us. Sure thing. Thanks. I left Missy and Forte to enjoy their meal in peace. I wandered to the middle of the main foyer and paused. Something was bothering me. One concern I had involved someone I hadn't seen all evening. Should I visit Canon? Ooh, yes. I figured since I didn't run into her at the atrium or anywhere along the way, Canon must have been in her room. I went down the living quarters hall and knocked on the door engraved with her school symbol. Canon, are you there? I just wanted to apologize. There was no response. I knocked once more for good measure. Silence again. I don't blame her for not answering the door to them. They were mean to her. Like, she was just trying to help and they were kind of really rude. And like, but then I also understand why Echo was acting the way that they were. So. It is now 9 p.m. Nighttime will begin at 10 p.m. Facilities will be closed until 7 a.m. the next morning. Even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise. If she were in her room, she didn't want to be disturbed. There wasn't much I could do. I slowly shuffled off. Oh, she's there. I couldn't help but feel guilty for denying Cannon's help, despite her tried sincerity. I wonder if I can get the photo pieces back from Missy. But nighttime had come before I knew it. I would have to ask Missy about the torn photograph tomorrow. I returned to my personal room and sat on the bedside. I felt sick, shattered. We just passed the first half of the so-called game and lost 4 of 10 students in our group. With 3 more days on the horizon, I feared for what would become of our already sparse community. I settled into bed and closed my heavy eyes. What's going on with my voice? Oh my god, sorry. What just happened to my voice? My thoughts were entangled in question after haunting question. The words, sights, and memories blurred together, with no answer on the horizon. I let go. Images unwound and spilled into the night. Sleep would eclipse my mind as another night passed. Jeez, what's going on with my voice? Am I losing my voice? That would be a real problem. Chapter 3, Dignity Diligent. The shattered glass with a rose in it. Does that have anything to do with anything? I'm trying to think of the symbolism. Day 5. Something ached. Ugh. I felt my stomach turn over. I slipped out of bed and went to the sink, splashing away another fitful night's sleep from my eyes with the crisp water. Alert from the chill, I got properly dressed. It was disturbing how quickly I acclimated to the morning routine. Oh, 7 a.m. I was awake an entire half hour before the present alarm went off. Grumbling from the habitual awakening, I sulked out of my personal room to go grab a bite from the dining hall. The halls were quiet. Nothing but my soft footsteps upon the carpet kept me company. I crossed the dimly lit foyer and sat myself down at the end of the dining hall table. I laid my eyes directly on the basket of pastries that was still sat in the center of the table. 2 pastries remained, a lemon square and some kind of Danish with jam. I helped myself to the lemon square, the delicate bite of sweet and sour zest filling me with a flavorful vigor. As much as I enjoyed the pastry, I couldn't help but remember the melancholic feeling of Pandora's life being cut short. I finished off the lemon square, leaving the jam Danish in the basket all by its lonesome. Okay. I placed the snack in a folded napkin and stuck it in my pocket. Maybe I can give it to Cannon. It's not much, but I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. Give it as a peace offering? I don't think she would accept it as a peace offering per se, but it would be a shame to waste it. I tried to recall whether or not Cannon had even tried to... Think you're doing? My thoughts were interrupted by a sharp exclamation. That scared me. I was in the middle of reading and then it stopped and like... My heart. Oh my gosh. I rushed out of the dining hall and saw Lyle and Cannon arguing in the connecting hall between the foyer and the living quarters. Say was standing beside Lyle once more, watching the scene unfold. Cannon, you're always running away and hiding, aren't you? Shut up. You think I'm going to run headfirst into danger? I'm not going to be an idiot like you and Echo, getting myself hurt for no good reason. Lyle seized Cannon's camera from her wrist. Lyle, what are you doing? Why are you doing that to her? Hey, hands off! I've had it with you and your secrets. I'll break this thing for good if you don't tell me what you're hiding. No, don't, please. What's going on? I started to intervene, but Forte stepped in within the living quarters. Approaching from down the hall behind Lyle, Forte plucks the camera out of his grasp with ease. You're all awfully lively at such an hour. Forte returned the camera to Cannon as Missy approaches from the opposite side of the living quarters. Lyle and Cannon stepped back a few paces from each other, the space now singularly occupied by their glares. Cannon wraps the strap around her wrist and grips the camera tightly. Good morning, everyone. Yes, good morning to you all. Although, I would hardly call shouting and threatening others a productive way to start the day. What is the commotion this time? Yeah, morning. I'm not entirely sure. I woke up early, so I went to the dining hall to help myself to breakfast when I heard Lyle and Cannon arguing about something. Why were you up so early anyway, Lyle? I haven't been able to sleep well, if you really must know. Lyle trailed off, but his gaze was tense. Sorry, I didn't mean to... Lyle scoffs. Anyway, I was awake because I was restless, but Cannon here was sneaking around my room, looking for dirt, no doubt. That's a damn lie. Is that so? Then explain this. Lyle produces a photograph of what looks like to be a checker pattern. What is this? Hey, just what are you showing us? It's a chessboard. I have a chessboard in my personal room, and the only way Cannon would have taken a picture of it was if she trespassed and entered my room. You're the worst. You were blatantly walking around with the thing tucked under your arm in the early hours of the morning. I didn't sneak anywhere, much less your personal room. I just happened to be around the corner when I saw the strange thing. So, you admit you were hiding? Lyle is he's going a little bit cuckoo. Like, he's definitely paranoid and off the rails ever since Art died. Just a minute. What is this about a chessboard? That's none of your business. I brought it out only to discuss it with Sei. No one else. Missy sighed. Don't be absurd. The existence of such a thing has been brought to everyone's attention thanks to your commotion. There's no use in keeping it a secret now, Lyle. Fine. Lyle leaves the group to retrieve the item in question from his personal room. The rest of us gathered in the dining hall in anticipation. After a moment, Lyle returns, presenting a lacquered wooden chessboard. Care to elaborate? What seems to be the issue here? It's not strictly a chessboard per se. It doesn't come with pieces to play with, and there are markings on the two opposite corners. But from those differences alone, I know what its real purpose is. It's the mutilated chessboard problem. If I recall correctly, it's a type of tiling puzzle, no? Yes. The problem is as so. Suppose an 8x8 chessboard has two diagonally opposite corners removed, leaving 62 squares. Is it possible to place 31 2x1 dominoes in such a way that along the ranks are files that all squares are covered? From the numbers alone, you'd think it mathematically possible. After all, 31 is easily half of 62. However, the problem is impossible to complete. By removing the two diagonally opposite corners, we're taking out either 2 black or 2 white squares. Whichever is removed, we're left with the real estate of 32 of one type of square and 30 of the other. This is an issue, since the dominoes will always cover 1 black and 1 white. If the remaining squares are uneven like that, we will be left with 1 domino and 2 uncovered squares. At the end of the day, puzzles like this are pointless. They're not problems, they're hoaxes meant to frustrate. In that case, do you believe you were expected to solve it, given you are the ultimate puzzle master? I doubt it. It came with neither instruction nor dominoes. Just the board itself, with the 2 corners marked, was in my room. Even if it were given to me to solve, whoever gave it to me must know I would see through the problem straight towards the impossible nature of it anyway. So Lyle had this complicated thing in his room as well. Huh? Hang on. This moment felt oddly familiar, hearing someone had a strange thing in their room. I wondered if it were simply a coincidence, or... Hey, Forte, can I ask you something? What is it? When I was shocked on the first day, you took me to your personal room to keep an eye on me. I remember you had sheet music. What was it of? Oh, that. The sheets were actually select parts for the libretto for, an opera I have some disdain for. Oh? Indeed. The story of a man that, despite his success, makes a deal with dark spirits to get what he truly wants. I don't care much for the moral of it. I see. His choice of words were rather nonplussed, but his brow furrowed deeply at the mention of the opera. Could these things be indicative of something more? In their respective rooms, Lyle had a frustrating puzzle, and Forte had sheet music that turned out to be a story he doesn't quite like. Interesting. I wonder, then, if the revolver in my room was presented in a similar fashion. To test myself with a precarious game within itself. What could that mean? Don't you think it has something to do with your talent as well? Perhaps. But conversely, there's a discrepancy among the items. Ashley's room item had nothing to do with her talent. Yeah, Ashley received her friend Silva's helmet. In a way, it could have been read as a gift at first thought, but given their history, it might have just been a jab at the fight that occurred between them. And I can surmise what sort of room gift Cannon was given. Sorry, hiccups. I'm sorry. Her camera. I haven't made any effort to hide it. But yes, I have some rather mixed feelings about this. Not elaborating any further, Cannon scowls as she stares at the device. Say, did you also happen to awaken in your room with a strange item? Yeah, I did. Would you mind sharing it with us? I wonder if it's also something talent-related. Zay momentarily withdrew into her own room to retrieve her item. So did everyone get something except Echo? Echo didn't get anything, right? See, that's what makes me think Echo was not meant to be here. And their talent as ultimate memory or whatever was just given them as a formality. Because they were here by accident. I don't know, like that's the... I don't know. This whole thing is weird. Here. Say she produced a yellow skull with the bones. It was a statuette. What on earth? Is that real? It couldn't be real. The shape is much too stylized to resemble anything realistic. Oh, I guess you're right. Still, Such a depiction of a skull, fake or not, sent chills up my spine. This thing is kinda heavy too. When I woke up, it was sitting in the cabinet at the foot of my bed, staring at me. It's like it was telling me something bad would happen. It's horrible. I didn't know what to do with it, so I just hid it in one of my cabinet drawers. Say's item doesn't seem to have any outward appearance of being related to her talent. However, a skull and bones statuette planted in the game centered around murder. I get the impression that it was given deliberately. Yeah, it can't just be a coincidence, huh? So Ashley wasn't the only one that had something out of place in her room when she woke up. It seems nearly everyone here had something unusual in their room. Wait, all these strange things have something in common. All items are high sentimental value. All items are to some degree disturbing. All items are associated with friends. I don't know. All these items have something in common. They have high sentimental value. I don't think so. No, that's not true. All items are to some degree disturbing. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I feel like it's this one. I think all the room gifts... It seems like they're all meant to unsettle you in some way. Interesting. It was quite disturbing to receive a revolver of all things, before the events of the killing game being revealed to us, no less. Missy, what about the item you had last night? You said it was here we go again. Analogous. Is that how you pronounce that word? I don't know. Like, yes, I'm an adult. I don't know how to pronounce words. You said it was analogous to Silva's helmet. Correct. It has a painted past. The owner was to kill himself with it for betraying the family's wishes. Loathsome request. I don't know, Forte, you know, I like Forte a lot, but his resemblance to Zero is... it's throwing me off. I don't know if we can trust him. So instead of following her family's blind-sighted desire, she took the dagger and nothing else as she fled from home. Missy withdrew the dagger from her possession and turned it over in her hands carefully. She had a forlorn look in her eyes as she stared at it. No way. There is no way I'm letting Missy allow another weapon to fall into the wrong hands. Lyle sped in to take the dagger from Missy, but Forte held him back with a firm grip. Why are you stopping me? I'm trying to prevent more destruction. Missy's weapons are going to do more harm than good. And you can say that with confidence. You wouldn't let the weapons fall into the wrong hands as well. Whoever fights the monsters should see to it that they do not become the monster in the process. Lyle, I think you would do well to follow those words of insight, given your reactions to the events. Yeah, Lyle reacts the most strongly to everything. You know, he's... I don't want to say unhinged. You could say he was unhinged when he started breaking everything, but like his reactions are very strong, and I feel like he's the most affected by this game psychologically. Like, he's the one who's most like... From the beginning, he was like, this is a puzzle, and I need to solve it, and I can't solve it, and that's frustrating me, and that's kind of making him, you know, a bit unhinged. It's not that I don't have any faith in you to solve the workings of our situation, but I don't want to see you turn against us for the sake of an answer. I'm not turning against you. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this forsaken game we're in. Ugh. Lyle hurled the chessboard across the hall, splintering the wood into several pieces. Lyle, violence is not the answer. You have a sharp mind. Don't let rage and confusion blind your judgment. Then tell me, What is the point of these so-called gifts? Missy, you received a gun of all things, and now you got your hands on a dagger? Sei even has a skull and crossbones statue. What good could that possibly serve? Not to mention the awful gifts. The game has been rigged from the beginning to incite violence, and violence only. Lyle, please settle down. We're gathered to talk this out. I understand you're frustrated, but discussion is the best tool at our current disposal. If we keep a level head, we're sure to find an answer for these questions at hand. We have so many brilliant minds here. Why not do what we can? Lyle huffed. He crossed his arms and paced to the far corner of the dining hall, allowing whoever else to speak. Well, all I can speculate is perhaps signs of distrust were planted among us from the start, since the gifts might have stirred feelings of resentment. If that's the case, what do you think Art's gift was? Maybe it was because of that thing he was the one to act first. It could be possible he walked into the mansion with pre-existing bleak feelings that were only exacerbated further by the situation we found ourselves in. One could surmise that is a plausible route for his motivation. The room fell silent for a moment. Missy and Forte were deep in thought, while Sei and Cannon were their usual quiet selves. Lyle, on the other hand, just allowed the conversation to move at its own pace. Missy continued. It's going to be difficult to reflect on the past events, but I believe it will be necessary to progress. I believe we ought to ask. The killing. What was the root of each occurrence? Art did it out of protection, didn't he? As I understood it, it was done more out of fear. Ashley was afraid too. She was afraid for Echo's safety. Both of them must have been getting rid of potential mastermind. Must have thought getting rid of the potential mastermind behind our situation would stop the game completely. However, is there such a possibility of a mastermind existing within our ranks? Yes, and I think it might be you. I think it might be Forte. No one dared to comment on such a thing. Regardless, I do not like this. Splintering the unity of the group with hypotheticals won't get us very far. Yeah. Besides, who would be so cruel to want to insert themselves into a game that can put themselves in harm's way? The idea is disturbingly masochistic. I suppose an amount of faith is required amongst us so we don't shatter what already limited and delicate trust has been built. We got this far, haven't we? The most plausible mastermind could have been Cyrus, but he was ultimately just a pawn in the overall scheme. So much for his immunity. Another pause. Missy looked over to Lyle, who continued to sulk. Lyle, have you had a moment to collect yourself? He lets out an elongated sigh. Sure. Then please, your wit and assistance will be paramount to solving our predicament. I haven't doubted your skill for a second. However, I would ask that you cooperate. Missy extends a hand in compromise. Lyle hesitates, but eventually shakes in agreement. Make no mistake. I'm still suspicious of everyone here, Missy especially. Don't think I'll forgive you for the hoops we had to go through to figure out what happened to Cyrus. I don't expect you to accept any of my excuses, so long as we're understood to have the same goal, to escape our predicament. Whatever. Let's just get on with figuring out this damn killing game. If we think about it, the working goal we're supposedly meant to be committing such horrendous acts for is to earn something called the ultimate prize. This prize is meant to be received at the end of 7 days' captivity. In that case, shouldn't we just wait till the 7th day? Was pursuing the so-called prize in anyone's mind this whole time? Consider this. What could possibly be so desirable, yet completely unspecified, that we are provoked to fight to the death? We ought to solely focus on pursuing escape and resisting any pressure to act on killing. That's the only answer I can foresee. But as we've seen, Zero has deployed a number of things throughout the day to apply stress. Regarding the forced motive question, just the act of choosing whether or not to discuss it has its suspicious implications, doesn't it? To move closer, listen. I don't have my glasses on, I can't see. I can't see. I'm nearsighted, I should be able to see the computer, but it's still blurry. I think that's why I'm having trouble reading. I'm sorry, I apologize. Just because I just can't see. And it didn't happen in Cyrus's case since the killing occurred early in the afternoon. But if we didn't do anything like we did on the 2nd day, something would have been employed later in the day to ensure we would act. Case in point, the disturbing music. Then, indeed, waiting out wasn't going to be an option to begin with. As far as we could tell, nothing made any sense. Missy furrowed her brow. It's difficult to make concrete statements about our situation. The variety of strange things happening don't seem to have any rhyme or reason. So, what can we even do? What's happening? What is this? Before anyone could respond, a ringing filled the halls.
So, day 5, another wondrous day within the walls. Today's forced motive question is, do you believe in strength in numbers? Oh, that's a real head-scratcher, huh? Nah, not really. It seems pretty obvious, right? Unless we have any lone wolves out there.
The announcement ended as quickly as it came. Huh. That one's kind of vague. It's not vague. It's nothing. Why wouldn't there be strength in numbers? Cannon broke her silence with a snide remark. It was strange coming from her, considering how much she avoided us. I'm inclined to agree that the answer seems pretty straightforward. I concur, especially since we are finding ourselves in the very scenario where it is beneficial that we be present to discuss the game. Okay, so we all agree that was completely pointless. Back to what we were talking about. What do we think the purpose of the Ultimate Prize and Preservation Project are as a whole? Missy, you said you wanted to involve yourself with this group. Can't you make heads or tails of this? I've been trying to make sense of it since we arrived. All I can say is perhaps we found ourselves in an elaborate trap. I heard Lyle mutter, "That's obvious," under his breath. Missy ignored him. Echo, I believe you may be able to recall what I said when you asked about Ultimate Students for the first time. Yeah, it was interesting what you said. What those individual groups or institutions do with the students is beyond me. I've not heard of any stories of success or failure from anyone who's had the luxury of being accepted. Anyway, don't take much stock in the title, is all I'm saying. What do those institutions do with the students? They put them in killing games. That's what they do. That's what they do. All these ultimate students just end up in killing games. That's it. That's all they're good for. I mean, of course your talents would be highly coveted, but wouldn't the world be seeing constant new developments in, like, biological discoveries and technology? Excellent observation. Why haven't we seen those developments indeed? It is clear that, as ultimate students, we are at the crux of this game's existence. How do you mean? Who or what singularly determined the fact that we had ultimate talents? The Preservation Project. And Echo, you didn't seem to have any knowledge of ultimate talents, students, or the Preservation Project at all, prior to your experience thus far. Huh? That's true. So I ask, how did you become a participant here? We all had to willingly sign up to be brought here. Yeah, this is the mystery, isn't it? Like, why is Echo here? I'm curious whether Echo's presence is a discrepancy we can bet upon. It seems glaringly peculiar, given the circumstance. That much is clear. In that case, I believe we've been uniquely blessed with the peculiarity of Echo's presence that could shed light on our situation. Missy thought hard. I need more information. I have an idea on where to potentially fetch the knowledge I seek. They? You know what? The reason for all this, why it's so hard to figure it out. It's all meant to be beyond our comprehension and capabilities, isn't it? Why not just go along with the game instead of fighting it? What? Girl. What are you saying? Suddenly a rumbling shook through the dining hall. It sounded like it was coming from the foyer. We darted out of the dining hall to investigate. Huh? The door is open? No way. The previously impenetrable main foyer door is opened.
We're on day 5 and there still are 5 of you. That's impossible.
The voice crackled.
Test your strength. Explore beyond the doors as a group. Split up, do nothing. I don't care. Your strength in numbers. Can you remain a group in spirit as you wander the mysterious halls? Yes, the doors once thought of as your only way out have been thrown ajar.
I admit, even though it kills my throat, I really like to do this voice. It kills me to do it, but I love it. It's so fun.
They've never really been an exit. You all just assume so. How silly is that? Dummies. And, oh, what's this?
Ding! Facing opposite of the foyer doors, the elevator indicator lit up, showing a new floor available to us, the courtroom.
I'll even let you all take a little detour to the courtroom. Find all the secrets of this wretched place if you can bear to face them. Yes, the game will go on regardless of how you resist.
Everyone was astonished. We were all fixated on the gaping dark hole that lay beyond the previously dangerous door. Zero is challenging us to uncover the secrets of our captivity. So be it. I will be infiltrating Cyrus's room. He had knowledge of mine and Ashley's connections. It is likely he has access to much more information. What? But the door that mysteriously kept us in has opened up. There could be information further in the building too. Lyle pulls out a secret note he's been holding onto since discovering it on the second day. This note has to mean something. It's clear Zero represents one of the symbols and has shown himself in the courtroom, so the same has to be said about Eve's symbol. I'm wondering, could Forte be Eve? I'm only going on this based on, like, Forte looks a lot like Zero. So I'm just like, that's the connection I'm making. I don't trust Forte anymore. I don't. Whoever is operating the announcements, Eve or Zero, have to be somewhere beyond these doors. It would be too obvious for Zero to be hiding in the courtroom. What if it's simply an artificial intelligence behind the two personalities? Then what? Searching for something intangible and scripted to run the game won't relieve the overall secrets behind the walls. Cyrus knew things about the project as a whole. That kind of information can't be denied at a time like this. Lyle, Missy, please. Arguing again. I'm sorry. I had to sneeze. I was suddenly gonna sneeze, I'm sorry. Arguing again isn't going to solve anything. Agreed. I hate to suggest it, but perhaps the opportunity is the forced motive question presenting itself in a testable way. It's trying to split them up. They're gonna split up. That's what I was thinking. If we recall day 3, the additional motive of distressing music was implemented at 4 p.m. Aha. We can split up and investigate until 4 p.m., where we can rendezvous and exchange information, all the while bracing ourselves for whatever Zero has in store for us. In that case, I'll venture into the unknown. If anything goes wrong here, you can bet I'll be the one to puzzle the truth together in the aftermath. I also want to go into the doors. Like, would we eventually be able to go both ways? Like, I'm assuming we could choose where to go. Lyle stands squarely before the dim hall of the open doorway. I suppose it's our best option. It's not the wisest thing to do, given our already small group, but it would give us an edge in discovering the secrets of our whereabouts. Missy nods as she makes her decision to remain within the main wing. There are 6 of us. Therefore, we ought to divide into groups of 3, so we can all keep an eye on each other and our respective areas. Breaking off into 3 pairs is out of the question. Kenan, you're coming with me. What makes you think I want to go with you? As much as I miss your awful company if you didn't come, you won't let go of your camera, and I think it might just be a touch useful going down. Okay? Kenan rolled her eyes, but didn't object further. Can I choose? I want to go with Lyle and Kenan. I'll join Missy. Worry not, I shall not let anything go wrong. Besides, I trust Kenan to keep an eye on things for me. Sure you do. We decided on splitting between investigating beyond the foyers, doors, and remaining in the main wing. With only myself and Say remaining, I looked to her to see what group she would go with. You would think she would want to go with Lyle, but I don't want her to go with Lyle because I want to go with Lyle. Don't go with Lyle because I want to go. Say remained still. I guess she was waiting for me to make the choice first. Okay, so I'm actually going to end this part here. Yeah, I'm gonna end it here and gonna make the choice to explore further in the next part. So since they are all finding out the secrets of this place, that means this is the last chapter and everything's gonna be revealed soon. So I'm very excited actually. I don't know what to expect. I don't trust Forte at all. At all. Not even a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this part, and I will see you in the next one where we find out what is going on here. Or we start to at least piece together some of the clues, you know? But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.